Shalom, shalom. Trying to see if this works now. See if brothers can see me and sisters can see me on this as well. Bear with me, Yashala. All right, let's see if I can pop up on this screen here. Let's see if y'all can see me now. Let's put a con in the chat if y'all can see me on the screen here. Or if you're watching okay, con. All right, we here. Okay, con, we here. All right, so hopping right back into it, going into biblical real estate, the year of Jubilee, what that's going into, what that's talking about. All right, Leviticus, the 25th chapter, right, in the year of release. All right, so we want to hop straight into it. Like I said in the first video, I like to give our praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah. Right, double honors to the men out there on the highways and byways on this mighty Shabbat day, wherever you at. I know our brothers in the cold, like we out here in Chicago, hey, going through all the wind, right, the adversities, right, the coldness, the stiffness out there, right, shalom, shalom, and the mighty Akwath, right, reverence in their households, their husbands, guiding their households and laying down their necks from the ministry, like our mighty foremothers used to do, and the mighty children out there keeping the commandments during all affliction, persecution, right, in these last days. Shalom, shalom. Right, so we're going to hop back into where we left off, going into the year of Jubilee, right, going into the fallow year, right, and many other different slacking things as well. Right, so I'm going to share my screen here. Let me know if brothers can see this. And sisters can see this. All right. So let me know if you can see. Come. All right. Come. So when you go into the Greek word for Jubilee, right? You go into the Greek word for Jubilee, all right? This is what pulls up. So let's play.
Strong's H8643. Teruah. Teruah.
Right. So teruah, right? Going into the Greek word for Jubilee, meaning shout, shouting, an alarm, sound, blowing, joy. Right. An alarm, signal, sound of tempest, shout, blast of war, or alarm, or joy. Shout in joy. Right. Blast, remark. So it's a war cry. It's essentially a war cry. It's an alarm. It's a warning. It's a shout of joy. So we get into this word Jubilee, right? It's an acclamation of joy or a battle cry, right? When you get into this word Jubilee on a spiritual level, as we will dive into it, man, right? The year of release, it's the year of release from being, released from the things that used to hold you down, your burdens, your chains of darkness, sin. Lord comes back. He's going to proclaim a year of Jubilee for our nation of people, man. All right. So let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 31. Right. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy chapter 31. All right. Actually, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 15 and 1 first. Right. Deuteronomy chapter 15 and verse 1. Right. And it says, and at the end of every 7 years, thou shalt make a release. And this is the manner of the release. Every creditor that lendeth aught unto his neighbor shall release it. He shall not exact it on his neighbor or of his brother, because it is called the Lord's release. So this prevents, unlike Esau, this prevents man from being in perpetual slavery, debt slavery. Esau will put you in debt slavery. You graduate college, and now you owe $100,000 a year, right, for the last 4 years, and now you accumulated interest. Now you got interest. Interest is another $36,000 on top of that. Esau will put you in debt slavery, man. All right. Let me go to let's see how much is America in, how much is the average, right? Is the average U.S. citizen debt? The average U.S. citizen is in debt almost $100K, $90,000, man. So that you come into America thinking it's the land of the free, home of the brave, but you gonna have $90,000 in debt. See that? Now, if America practices the Bible, where's the year of release? Where is the creditor, which is Esau, gonna give back and say, you know what, you're not in debt no more? It's not in there. All right, they're not doing that. They never did that, and they're never going to do that. Esau will put you into perpetual slavery, but the year of the release, that's why the scripture is so righteous. When you keep the law, nobody's going to be in bondage like that, man, or servitude forever. All right, so let's go back to that. Right, and it says in verse 2, and this is the manner of the release: every creditor that lendeth aught unto his neighbor shall release it. He shall not exact it of his neighbor and or of his brother, because it is called the Lord's release. Of a foreigner thou mayest exact it again, but which is thine with thy brother thine, but that which is thine with thy brother thine hand shall release. So guess what? I thought the Lord, is dealing with the other nations on an equal level. But the Lord said of a foreigner, a person that's not an Israelite, that's not your brother. Yeah, you can kind of put burdens on them. Right? But that which is thine, right? Your brother, you got to release it. You can't have your brother in perpetual. Now Esau, he'll put his own people in slavery. He'll put his own people in debt slavery, man. Right? But the Lord said you can't do that to your own nation. And you already know these laws was given to Israel. Verse 4, save when there shall be no poor among you, for the Lord shall greatly bless thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it. So the Lord put you in that land. He blessed you in that land. Hey, you got to help out the poor of your people, the poor of your brothers and sisters. And as you jump down to verse 9 and 10, it will tell you that as well. Right? It will tell you that. Hey, let's jump down to verse 10. Thou shalt surely grieve him, and thine heart shall not be grieved when thou givest unto him, because that for this thing the Lord thy God shall bless thee in all thy works and all that thou puttest thy hand to do. Right? So when you give it back to the poor of your people, the Most High look out for you too. Right? 11. And it says, for the poor shall never cease out the land. So you're always going to have poor people in the land. You always have a hierarchy. It says the poor is never going to cease out the land. People are going to be poor. Right? Therefore, I command thee, saying, thou shalt open thy hand wide unto thy brother, to thy poor, and to the needy in thy land. Right? So the Lord already knows you're going to be poor in the land, but it's our job as Israel to look out for our brothers and sisters that are poor. Right? It's going to show you how. Verse 12. And if thy brother, an Hebrew man or Hebrew woman, right, specifically, be sold unto thee and serve thee 6 years, then in the 7th year thou shalt let him go free from thee, man. So in the 7th year, right, you're gonna release your brother and your sister from their servitude towards you to work off their debt, man. Right, verse 13. And when thou sendest him out free from thee, thou shalt not let him go away empty. And a sidebar, when we were in slavery and the so-called white man freed our people, he just turned us over like cattle. They said they got turned over like cattle. They weren't given anything. All they said was, you got to go free now. And a lot of slaves were sorted back to their slave master and their plantation because they had nowhere to go. They had nothing set up for them. They didn't have any money. Right? They didn't have a place to go. They didn't know where to go, man. All they knew was slavery, and all they knew was their master. So a lot of slaves had to go back to their master, man. But the Lord said, guess what? You should not let him go away empty, man. So Esau doesn't keep none of these laws. No, these nations don't keep none of these righteous laws that the Most High set up for us. So this is going into the year of Jubilee, the year of release. As we know, it's a war cry or a shout of joy. Right? Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy 31. All right, let's go to the book of Deuteronomy chapter 31. And we're going to start at verse 9. All right, it's Deuteronomy chapter 31 and verse 9. And it says, and Moses wrote this law and delivered it unto the priests, the sons of Levi, which bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and unto all the elders of Israel. And Moses commanded them, saying, at the end of every 7 years, in the solemnity of the year of release in the Feast of Tabernacles. So now we understand that the year of release is are around the time of Feast of Trumpets, around the time of Feast of Tabernacles, right? In that area of the High Holy Days, right? The Lord said you have to have a year of release, and during that year of release, you go over all the law, right? So, verse 11, and when all Israel's come to appear before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose, thou shalt thou shalt read this law before all Israel in their hearing. And we can get some accounts of our forefathers doing that, reading all the law to Israel before the Feast of Trumpets, Tabernacles, around this time. Day of Atonement is around this time as well, right? And it says, 12, gather the people together, men and women and children, and thy stranger that is within thy gates, that they may hear and that they may learn and fear the Lord your God and observe to do all the words of this law, man. Right? So let's go to Nehemiah chapter 8 and verse 1. Let's get an example of our forefathers doing that. Right, it's Nehemiah 8 and 1. All right, so this is in the 7th month, right? And it says, and all the people gathered themselves together as one man into the street that was before the water gate, and they spake unto Ezra the scribe to bring the book of the law of Moses, which the Lord hath commanded to Israel. And Ezra the priest brought the law before the congregation, both of men and women, and all that could hear with understanding upon the first day of the 7th month, right? And he read therein before the street that was before the water gate from the morning until midday. So Ezra was out there all day reading the law to his people, as the law says in Deuteronomy chapter 31, right? And it says, before the men and women and those that could understand, and the ears of all the people that are attentive to the book of the law, man. So this is our forefathers doing these things, man. Right, that were commanded of them, like I said in the book of Deuteronomy, Ezra was doing that. So let's go to the book of Leviticus chapter 25. Right, so that was an example of our forefathers reading in the book of the law during that time. Right, year of Jubilee, Feast of Tabernacles, Day of Atonement, Feast of Trumpets. Around that time is when you kind of get into to the words of the law and make sure everybody understands. All right, so let's get into it. The book of Leviticus chapter 25 and verse 1. Right, the year of release, the land Sabbath. Right, so it says, and the Lord spake unto Moses at Mount Sinai, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, saying to them, when you come into the land which I give you, then shall the land keep a Sabbath unto the Lord. So the land has to keep a Sabbath. Why? Because the Lord rested on the 7th day. So us have to rest on the 7th day. The Israelites. The land has to rest on the 7th day. If you overwork something, it's like a car. If you drive it too much, it's eventually going to break down on you, man. You have to let your car rest. All right? You got to let your car rest. You got to let certain things rest. If you're on your phone 24/7, your phone go overheat. It's going to tell you the temperature is too hot, and your phone will start freezing, and now you're taking it up to damn T-Mobile, man, asking what's going on. And they say, well, did you try turning it off and turning it on? And you do that, now your phone back to normal, because all your phone needed was a rest, man. All right? So everything has to rest. Everything's going to decay in due time, man. Right? Everything has to rest. And the Lord gave us a commandment for our land to rest. Right? And it says, verse 3, 6 years thou shalt sow thy land, and 6 years thou shalt prune thy vineyard and gather in the fruit thereof. But in the 7th year shall be a Sabbath of rest unto the land, a Sabbath for the Lord. Thou shalt neither sow thy field nor prune thy vineyard. That which groweth of his own accord of thy harvest thou shalt not reap, neither gather the grapes of thy vine undressed, for it is a year of rest unto the land. So that whole year is a year of rest unto that land, man. Right? You're not doing it, you're not planting seeds, right? You're not pruning, you're not doing anything to that land. You're just letting it rest. The reason being is you've been doing it for the last 6 years, man. Right? And there's certain things that happen in that last 6 years that causes your land to need a rest. Let me go to the book of 2nd Ezra. Right? So this is biblical real estate, man. Right? Biblical real estate going into diverse laws, man, that we need to understand. Because we're going to be doing it in the kingdom anyway. This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 8. And verse 41. For as the husbandman soweth much seed upon the ground and planteth many trees. So a husbandman, he plants many trees. He throws a lot of seeds on the ground, man. A lot of stuff is happening on that land, right? And what? And yet the thing that is sown good in his season cometh not up, neither doeth all that is planted take root. So just because you throw some seeds on the ground doesn't mean it's going to take root. Don't mean that's going to spring up in the ground. So they're just sitting there, right? And it says, and it's still taking the nutrients from the soil. Even if it doesn't grow into a tree, or even if it doesn't grow into what you thought it was going to grow into, it's still taking that nutrients from the soil, right? And it says, even so is of them that are sown in the world, they shall not be saved. I answered them and answered then and said, if I have found grace, let me speak. Like as the husbandman's seed perisheth, if it come not up, and receiveth not the rain in due season, or if there come too much rain and corrupted, even so perisheth the man also which is formed with thy hands, and is called thine own image, because thou art like unto him, for whose sake thou hast made all things, and liken them to the husbandman's seed, man. Right? So when that seed doesn't come not up, maybe got too much rain, maybe it didn't get enough rain. But at the end of the day, you planted all those seeds in the last 6 years. You got to let that land rest, man. Because as a husbandman, he's planting many trees, he's planting many seeds. So the Lord said, okay, on the seventh year, you need to let that land rest, man. Does Esau let this land rest? Does Esau let the land of America rest? Every seventh year, he broadcasts on your TV. He said, okay, it's the seventh year. All right. So we're not gonna do anything, no farming, no production on the seventh year. And everybody, you guys just gotta, just kind of save your increase from the years before. Esau's not doing that. Now you have some other nations that do that. They don't do that here in America. They're constantly reaping and breaking up the damn land, and they doing a lot of tractors on the land, and that's what they're doing, right? On the seventh year, on the seventh day. Esau's not letting anything rest. Now you do have something called a fallow year, right? It's also, so you have something in society also called a fallow year, right? So a fallow year is land left to rest and to regenerate. To regenerate what? To regenerate the nutrients, regenerates the elements that's inside that soil that's needed for a man when he's eating food, like nitrogen, oxygen, right? Different things, iron, zinc that man needs in his body. You need to let that land rest so it can replenish those nutrients, man. Right? It's also called a crop rotation. So you're not going to use a certain piece of land for 1 to 5 years. Really, it's like I said, it's supposed to be 7 years according to thus saith the Lord. Right? But you're letting that land rest, and you're producing now on a different type of crop. Producing now on a different type of soil. So the goal of land fallow, right, is to allow the land to recover and store organic matter, right, and retain those nutrients, man. All right. So that's that. Even these nations know about that. Back in the ancient world, it was more of an agricultural society. So you knew about those different things. You knew about, letting the land rest, and, not overworking your animals too much. On the seventh year, letting that land get its nutrients for for your fruit, for your vegetables. Everything back then was better than what it was now, man. Because man had an understanding of these different things. Our kings were husbandmen. Let's go to the book of First Chronicles real quick. It's like your Second Chronicles. Our kings, our men, even the top men knew about husbandry, right? This is Second Chronicles, chapter 26. This is talking about King Uzziah. Right, this Second Chronicles 26 and 10. All right, quick precept. And he also built towers in the desert and digged many wells, for he had much cattle, both in the low country and in the plains. Husbandmen also, and vine dressers in the mountains. So this man had all types of men set up to farm and to till the land. Because why? And in Carmel, for he loved husbandry. So King Uzziah loved husbandry. King Uzziah knew about the so-called fallow land, crop rotation. He knew about the land Sabbath, man. And I'm led to believe he took it very seriously because he loved husbandry. Esau doesn't love husbandry. Esau has defiled the earth, man, in a very big way. Now all your food, your seeds got GMO in it. It's not like how it was back then. Let's go to the book of 2nd Esdras chapter 8. All right, let's go to the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 8. Your land is not like how it was back then. Let me just be honest with you, Jake. You think, you go to Whole Foods, right? You go to Whole Foods, you're hoping, you say, you know what, this apple is a little bit more expensive. Maybe this is a good apple. Right? It's a good apple. All right, let's get to the Google real quick. All right. King James Version with the Apocrypha. Because we got to get this, man. All right. King James. All right. Oh, can't slack it. I just have to click to the top. All right, so let's get this precept in 2nd Ezra chapter 16. It's like 2nd Ezra chapter 8. Actually, 2nd Ezra chapter 5. All right, 2nd Ezra chapter 5. And let's start at verse 52. All right, so this land is defiled. We know this, right? And everything back then isn't what according is to now, right? In 2nd Ezra chapter 5 and verse 52, say unto her, wherefore then are not they whom hast thou now brought forth, like those that were before, but less of stature, right? So back then, things were more of stature. Men were taller, stronger, right? Women, were more weren't as weak in the spirit. Just read the book of Judith, Esther. They were more built up. Our fruit were bigger, vegetables, animals. I tell you in the book of Maccabees, they fit 32 men on one animal, first Maccabees, man. Right when they were going to war. You can't fit 32 men on animals now, on an elephant now. It's not happening. Right? And it says, verse 53, and she shall answer thee, they that be born in the strength of youth are of one fashion, and they that are be born in a time of age when the womb faileth are otherwise. And the soil represents the womb. All right. Hey, one time the land was so fertile here in America. One point in time, the land used to be fertile all over the earth, man. Right? It was in their youth. That's of one. You flash forward 2022 years, right? 2022. Guess what? Now it's failing. The soil in America is failing, man. Right? And it says, consider thou therefore also how that you are less of stature than those that were before you. And so are they that come after you less than ye, as the creatures which are now begin to be old and have passed over the strength of youth, man. Into the defiling of America and the land in America and the men and the people and the food, the GMO, this, that, and the third. Guess what? You are less of strength, man. And now these things begin to wax old. Right? So let's look at this. How the loss of soil is sacrificing America's natural heritage. So America, this soil is finished. Well, we need to build it. What Jake be saying? We need to build our own communities, right? Which we've tried before, right? We need to plant our own gardens. We need to start our own grocery stores. Okay, that sounds good. It sounds good, but the land is defiled, Jake. I mean, literally, you try to plant a damn seed, it may take years, man, to grow a damn lemon tree. Right? And then when you get the lemon trees all brown, because the soil is defiled, man. You got the blood of our brothers and sisters on this land. All right? So let's get into this. I want to jump down to the point. All right. Let me get on to the point. Where was it at? All right, Khan. All right, let's see what we want here to talk. All right. So it says at best 24% of Corn Belt topsoil has been removed by farming. At worst, 46% has been lost, man. All right. So the soil is finished. This soil all in America gets most of its crops from the Midwest, Iowa, Missouri, South Dakota, North Dakota, Wisconsin. Right. Our horizon soil was essentially no longer pleasant on convex slopes. What they found on those slopes was B horizon soils, subsoil, in other words, with minimal fertility, which is only exposed after A horizon soil has been removed. Right? Minimal fertility, meaning you're not growing nothing, man. It's over. Why do you think America's trying to ramp up GMO food and put it in your neighborhood, Jake, to test it on you? All right. This soil is gone here. They didn't practice the land Sabbath. They didn't practice the land. They don't practice the land Sabbath, man. All right. It says the soils that have been eroded were once rich in organic carbon. Yeah, this place had organic carbon, which has also, of course, been sacrificed over time. Since World War II, the lost fertility once inherent in those carbon-rich soils have been placed by chemical fertilizer. Why do you think you keep seeing them chemtrails in the sky? You see that big plane, and you see stuff fall out the sky, and you see a big tail behind it. That's chemical fertilizer, man. That's been killing these carbon-rich soils, man. That's what Esau has. And he does it constantly. There is no stopping. There is no land Sabbath with Esau. And it says, without adding carbonaceous material of any kind, it's an old and in big ag circles forgotten, right? Maxim that good farmers really don't really think about raising crops. They think about improving the soil. But if all you add to soil is water and chemicals, nitrogen, fertilizer, and glyphosate, that unique as pesticide, erosion is all you can expect. We've been getting our food the wrong way. Well, yeah, you've been getting your food the wrong way, man. Because they're not following the laws of the Most High. Esau has defiled this land to a T. See that? Look at all that soil messed up. All that land soil messed up. See that? Let's go back. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 24. Right? Isaiah chapter 24. And verse 5. Because Esau has ultimately decimated the land and the earth. All right, and the earth. This is Isaiah 24 and 5. The earth is also defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws. Yeah, Esau broke this law. Esau broke the law. Leviticus chapter 25, verse 1 down to verse 7. That's why the earth is defiled, man, under Esau's reign, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinances, broken the everlasting covenant, man. Therefore, the cursed have devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate, because the inhabitants of the earth are burned and few men left. And the Most High got to destroy this place with fire, man. Destroy all the chemicals in the air, destroy all the chemicals in the soil, all the things that be in man. Man got to be purged with that fire too, because Esau changed the ordinance. It used to be an ordinance to keep your land, land rested on the seventh year. That ordinance is not here no more. Nobody, if you ask a farmer about the fallow year, he may look at you like, fallow year? We haven't did that in 200 years. That's what he may say to you. All right. Let's go to the book of Exodus 23 and 10. Exodus chapter 23 and verse 10. So what the Lord said in Exodus 23 and 10. And 6 years thou shalt sow thy land, and shalt gather in the fruits thereof, man. But the seventh year thou shalt let it rest and lie still, that the poor of thy people may eat. And you know how Esau treats the poor in America. You know how Esau treat the poor in America, man. So this only goes to show you that he's not letting the land rest the seventh year. There is no crop rotation here. And it says, and what they leave, the beasts of the field shall eat. In like manner thou shalt deal with thy vineyard and with thy olive yard. All right. 6 days thou shalt do thy work, and on the seventh day thou shalt rest, that thine ox and thy ass may rest, and the son of thy handmaid and the stranger may be refreshed. Right. The oxen and everybody's rested, man. Your ox is not out there eating up, the damn grass and walking around trying to find food. Everybody's resting. And this is a law commanded to our people. All right, let's get one more before we hop back into it. Let's go to Revelations 11 and 8. Right, the earth helped the woman. See, this is what I want. The earth helped the woman. Right, this is Revelation chapter 12 and verse 16. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth. And now we seeing how the land used to be, how the land is. We got artifacts, right? We got the words of knowledge, man. Right? We got these things. The earth is helping the woman, man. Right? And Esau is hurting the earth. Right? But while the earth is helping us, because hey, Israel got next. And I guarantee you, when Israel's ruling the world, you're not gonna have anybody in perpetual slavery. You're not gonna have the land not rested, man. Everything's gonna be in unison, everything's gonna be in order, man. Right. So let's go back to that in Leviticus chapter 25 and verse 8. Right, going back into the land Sabbath and the year of Jubilee. Right. It's Leviticus chapter 25 and verse 8. And it says, I'll start verse 7. And for thy cattle and for the beasts that are in the land. Actually, start at verse 6. And the Sabbath of the land shall be meat for you, for thee and for thy servant and thy maid, and for thy hired servant, and for the stranger that sojourneth with thee, and for the cattle, and for the beasts that are in thy land, shall all the increase thereof be for meat. Right. So in that 7th year, you're gonna have the increase from the first 6 years, and it shall be for you for meat. And thou shalt number 7 Sabbaths of years unto thee. 7 times 7 years, in the space of the 7 Sabbaths of years, thou shalt be unto thee 40 and 9 years. Right. So you're gonna number 7. It's like Pentecost. Right. But instead of weeks, you're doing years now. Instead of 49 weeks, now it's 49 years. Right. So there are 7 consecutive 7s. Right. Instead of 49, like I says, 49 years. And then that 50th year is called the year of Jubilee. You're going to read about that. Right. And it says, verse 9, then shall thou cause the trumpet of the Jubilee to sound on the 10th day of the 7th month. Right. So this is around the time that Ezra was reading the book of the law, as Deuteronomy 31, as we went into, was commanding us on the 7th month. And it says, in the day of atonement shall you make the trumpet sound throughout all your land. Right. A sound of joy, a war cry, a battle cry. Right. And it says, verse 10, and you shall hallow the 50th year and proclaim liberty all throughout the land until all the inhabitants thereof. It shall be a jubilee unto you, and you shall return every man into his possession, and you shall return every man into his family. Right. So in the 50th year, right, it's hallowed and allows liberty throughout all the land. Right. Every man's free from his debt or servitude. As we just went into, that's how you prevent man from being in perpetual slavery, like how Esau puts man in perpetual debt. All right. I think we put it up earlier. The average U.S. citizen is $90,000 in debt. Let's go to Job 24 and 12. Let's get it. Let's go to the book of Job, chapter 24 and verse number 12. And it says, men groan from without the city, and the soul of the wounded crieth out, yet God layeth not folly to them. Right. And it says, they are of those that rebel against the light. They know not the ways thereof, nor abide in the paths thereof. Right. And that's Esau. Men are groaning from without the city. And the soul of the wounded is crying out in America, man. Because every time they eat their food, they don't got no seeds in it. They drink their water. You look on the back of a damn water bottle, and it got 1,000 ingredients. It's water. How does it? The only ingredient should be H, the number 2, and a big O at the end. But Esau adds in chlorine dioxide, chlorine phosphate, Syndrokin. I'm making up words, but these sound like some real things that Esau puts in this damn. All right, what's this? All right, what's in here? All right, hibiscus. The hell is hibiscus, man? And this is supposed to be sparkling water. What the hell is hibiscus? These are things that's why men are growing it from out the city, man. Right. And then, of course, they are those that rebel against the light, which is the laws. Proverbs 6:23. They know not the ways thereof, nor abide the paths thereof, man. The murderer rising with the light killeth the poor. Yeah, how are you killing the poor? Is it just because they are oppressing them? Right? Is he over just oppressing the poor and just, killing our people with guns? And no, he kills the poor by what? By defiling their temples, feeding them things that are unclean, feeding them things that are not lawful, feeding them things that will kill you, feeding not only your mind but physically, man. You don't know what you're drinking half the time. You think you're eating an innocent snack, an organic cookie, but that organic cookie got 50,000 ingredients on it, processed in Iraq, shipped over here, sat in a damn cargo ship for X amount of days, and before it hits your shelf, and then you got it from that shelf 24 days later, and by the time you got it, you thinking organic cookies supposed to taste like that, but brother, they stale. And now you got stomach virus. You go to the doctor, and now it's a wrap. That's not how that process works, because now Esau's killing the poor and needy in the night is as a thief, man. Meaning he's doing it when nobody's, he's doing it concealed. Nobody's kind of watching him, right? Let's go to the book of Proverbs 29:2. These are the things what Esau is doing. All right, Proverbs chapter 29 and verse 2. Because Esau's in rulership. That's why men are acting like this. Now it's Proverbs chapter 29 and verse 2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. And you see the land mourning. You see people mourning. War all across the earth. A famine is happening right now. In certain countries, people are not eating. They not touching no bread, boy. Right? And here you seen the famine start up a little bit. You seeing your grocery stores get less and less. All right. You open the damn thing and there's only 2 milk cartons, but 3 people want them. It's going to get to those times where that one person is going to have to just kind of deal with it. All right. So you're seeing that the righteous are not rejoicing right now. I mean, the white righteous are not in authority. All right. The righteous are not in authority, man, because people are not rejoicing. The wicked is bearing rule and defiling the whole earth. So let's go back to that Leviticus 25:11. So going back to the 50th year, the year of Jubilee. All right. Leviticus chapter 25, and I'll start at verse 11. And it says, a Jubilee shall that 50th year be unto you. You shall not sow, neither reap that which is grown, that which groweth of itself in it, nor gather the grapes in it that you line that thy vine undressed. For it is the Jubilee. It shall be holy unto you, and you shall eat the increase thereof out the land. In the year of this Jubilee you shall return every man unto his possession. So in the year of Jubilee, that 50th year, every man goes into his possession. If you had anything passed down from you from your father's father, your ancestral line, that land that you sold in times past to get yourself out of poverty, that land goes back to you. That house goes back to you, brother. You can't keep it forever and charge interest. All right. So the Lord said every possession that you once had that you had to sell due to your poverty, that goes back to you, man. And that's a righteous law. Right? You can't oppress your own people. Right? And it says, and if verse 14, and if thou sell aught unto thy neighbor or buyest aught of thy neighbor's hand, you shall not oppress one another. All right? You can't oppress your brother. You can't oppress your sister. That's plain. Like no oppression amongst your own people. Right? Verse 15, according to thy number of years. What does it say? According to thy multitude of years, thou shalt increase the price thereof, and according to the fewness of years, thou shalt diminish the price of it. For according to the number of the years of the fruits thereof, to the number of the years of the fruits doeth he sell unto thee. Right. So if it's a year of release in 3 years, and he wants to buy that land or buy his possession back in, but the year of Jubilee is only 3 years away, right? You're not going to increase that. You're not going to increase the price. I mean, you're not going to increase the price because the year of Jubilee is 3 years anyway. So it's depending on when the year of Jubilee falls and when that man wants his substance back, right? The land will either increase or decrease in value depending on the fruits he sold unto you, man. Right? But let's say the year of Jubilee isn't for another 27 years. Well, you can increase the price on that thing a little bit, not to burden him, but you can increase the price. It's more valuable because the year of Jubilee isn't for another 27 years, man. 30 years. Well, if the year of Jubilee is like 10 years, 5 years, then of course you're not going to increase the price, right? Because the year of Jubilee is already around the corner. That's what it's saying, right? It's based on how you adjust the price, right? And it all goes back to measurements, balance, and weights, having just weight, a just balance. Right, let's go to Leviticus 19, Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 36. This is Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 36. And it says, just balances, just weights, a just ephah, and a just hin shall you have. I am the Lord your God, which brought you out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall you observe all my statutes, all my judgments, and do them. I am the Lord. So you have to have a just weight and a just balance, man. That's the Lord's delight. So when you're dealing with this in the ancient world, you have to have a just and fair price based on the number of years when Jubilee was, or if let's say the Jubilee just happened 3 years ago, and now the brother fell on hard times again after just receiving a Jubilee, then you can increase that price a little bit, right? Because the Jubilee is not for another 47 years. So if he wants that stuff back, hey, you can increase that price. But if Jubilee's in 2 years, then you got to diminish that because he's going to get it back in 2 years anyway. Right? Let's read on. Actually, let's go to Proverbs 11 and 1. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 11, verse 1. A false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight, man. So that's integrity. The Lord, he loves a just balance. He's equitable. You have to have equity. When you're dealing in business, this is business. When you're dealing in business, you have to have equity. You have to have proper and sound judgment. You can't come off like you're trying to oppress anybody, man, or you're just trying to get your own gain. It's mutual, right? Both parties benefit. That's how business works, right? Let's get one more. Sirach 42 and 4. You can't be ashamed to know that, right? Or to speak up on that. This is Sirach chapter 42, verse 4. I start verse 1. So Sirach the 42nd chapter is things that to not be ashamed of, things to not be ashamed about, right? And it says, verse 4, verse 1, of these things be thou not ashamed, and accept no person to sin thereby. Verse 4, of exactness of balance and of weights, or of getting much or little. So you can't be ashamed of that, right? So let's say somebody's trying to get over on you and you perceive that, but you say, no, man, you know what? He's a good guy in his heart. He's a good guy. Maybe he's an accident. Maybe next time he's going to get it right. And then he keeps oppressing you. He keeps adding on prices and increasing your price, man. You wanted to buy a house for $1,000 from your brother. Now it's $20,000 because of taxes and fees and interest. And you say, you know what? Maybe he's right. I don't really got to look into it because he's keeping the law. He's a Hebrew. He got his fringes on. Right? No, man. You better not let nobody sin thereby against you. And you better not be ashamed to say something too. Like, hold on, brother. Nah, that don't sound right. So you want me to pay this money in the third because it is nah. Maybe if we can adjust it like this, and now you negotiating. You go to the car dealership, you ask for a car, he says $100,000, and the car only worth $30,000. So he does know what he's talking about. He worked there, he has more experience than me. And you buy the car for $102,000 and 78 cents. It's 78 cents, man. Because you didn't, because you was ashamed. You can't be ashamed, man. All right, that's madness. Don't buy a car for $100,000 and 78 cents, man. Don't do that. All right, but like I said, just going into negotiations, going into having a just weight and a just balance, right? On depending on when the year of Jubilee was. So let's go back to that. All right, verse number 16. According to the multitude of years, thou shalt increase the price thereof, and according to the fewness of years, thou shalt diminish the price of it. For according to the number of years, the fruits doeth he sell unto thee. Right. Verse 17, you shall not therefore oppress one another, but thou shalt fear thy God. I am the Lord your God. So no oppressing one another, man. We just brought that out a little bit earlier. Let's go to Deuteronomy 24 and 14. All right, this is Deuteronomy chapter 24 and verse 14. Thou shalt not oppress and hire a servant that is poor and needy, whether he be of thy brethren or of thy strangers that are not in the land within thy gates. So when it's talking about you can't oppress your higher servant. Let's say somebody fell on hard times and they want to work for you. You can't oppress your brother, man. Whether he live in your land or whether he from your land or not. So let's say he a stranger and he an Israelite from the land of Moab, and he come over and say, you know what, Moab is going through some hard times. I moved over there, but I'm moving now back to Judah. You know, I want to work for you're my brother. So okay, and you can't oppress him. Let's say he's an Israelite living in the land of Edom. God forbid, right? He lived in the land of Edom. He came. He fell on hard times. He can resort unto his brother, and you can't oppress him. Right? That would be a sin unto thee if he called out to the Most High. Right? Jump down to verse 17. Thou shalt not pervert the judgment of the stranger, nor the fatherless, nor take a widow's raiment to pledge. Yeah, just because they fatherless and just because they poor, you can get over on them. You can press them a little bit because they don't really got that much help. That's off. The Lord gonna judge you. The Lord will judge you, man. So when you're dealing in business, you got to be equitable. You got to have equity, right? You got to have equity. Let's get the definition of equity. Right? Definition of equity. The quality of being fair and impartial. Right? The quality of being fair and impartial. Fairness, fair-mindedness, justice. Isn't the Most High known for justice? Fair play, integrity, uprightness, egalitarianism. I'm sorry saying that, brother. You gotta be an egalitarianist. You have to practice egalitarianism, right? Right. So you can see what it means to be equitable. All right. And the Lord wants you to be equitable by not perverting judgment. All right. Let's go to the book of Proverbs, the first chapter. All of this goes into business. If you don't possess any of these things, you are a bad business person. You need to be equitable, understand just weights and measures. You have to understand the law. That's why we're going over the law. All right. This is Proverbs chapter 1 and verse 1. The Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel, to know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding, to receive instruction of wisdom, justice. We just read that word, and judgment and equity. So in the first 3 verses of Proverbs, which is a mighty book, what you're going to learn is instruction of wisdom, justice, judgment, and equity. And that's what you want to have as a leader or as a king, man. Whether you're a woman leading the household or whether you're a man, not leading the household, guiding the household, leading your children, and as a man leading the household, leading your brothers and your sisters. You have to practice these different things. And you see all these things written in the law. All right? Let's go back to that. Leviticus. All right, let's go back to that. Leviticus chapter 18. All right. I'm on a time constraint, but let's see if we can finish this out, man. All right, it's Leviticus chapter 20. Got to go to camp in a few. It's Leviticus chapter 25 and verse 8. Leviticus chapter 25 and 18. Wherefore you shall do my statutes and keep my judgments and do them, and you shall dwell in the land of safety. And the land shall yield her fruit, and you shall eat your fill and dwell there in safety. And if you shall say, what shall we eat the 7th year? Behold, we shall not sow nor gather nor increase. And that's Jake. Whoa, what you mean we can't grow our food the 7th year? What the hell are we going to eat? So the Lord is already giving, that's how much the Lord loves you. He's already giving you a game plan on what to do the 7th year. I got you. All right, verse 21. Then will I command my blessing upon you in the 6th year, and it shall bring forth fruit for 3 years. So in the 6th year, before you stop tilling the land the 7th year, the 6th year, the Lord's going to give the increase to your land. So you will have enough the 7th year, the 8th year, and the 9th year, man. I'm just like the 6th year, you're going to have enough for the 6th year, the 7th year, and the 8th year, one more extra year. So you're going to have food for an extra 3 years, man, for not tilling the land in the 7th year, man, letting it rest. The Lord's going to give you food for the extra 3 years. Right? And it says, verse 22, you shall eat the 8th year, right? The 8th year, and the eat of the old fruit until the 9th year, until her fruits come in. You shall eat of the old store, right? Because it's still going to take a year for all the fruits and the cattle to kind of not the cattle, all the fruits and the vegetables to grow out the land. Because you're not going to start planting on the 8th year. It's going to take until the 9th year, right? So the Lord gave you food the 7th, 8th, and 9th year, right? And you're going to eat of the old store until those new fruits, those new crops are brought in on the 9th year, just to let that land rest a little bit. The Lord's giving you everything you need just to keep his commandments. Verse 23, the land shall not be sold forever, for the land is mine, for you are strangers and sojourners with thee. Yeah, because the land doesn't belong to you. The land of Israel, yes, it's our land, but it really don't belong to you. It belongs to the Most High. So if the Most High gave you an allotted land for your fathers to inherit, you can't sell it off forever. You can't give it to a Moabite or even your brother and say, this is for you for 100 pieces of shekel, and you never see the land again. It doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the Lord. And the Lord gave it to you for an inheritance. You're obligated to get it back. And it's a commandment for that. In our kings practice this. Let's go to 1 Kings 21:1. All right, let's get an example of this. 1 Kings chapter 21 and verse 1. And it says, and it came to pass after these things that Naboth the Jezreelite had a vineyard which was in Jezreel, hard by the palace of Ahab king of Samaria. And Ahab spoke unto Naboth, saying, give me thy vineyard, that I may have it for a garden of herbs, because it is near unto my house, and I will give thee for a better vineyard than it, or if it seemeth good unto thee, I will give thee the worth of it as money. So he was trying to Ahab was trying to buy the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite. He was like, look, I need your land. I can give you a different piece of land better than this, and I can give you some money for it too. Let's see how Naboth responded to that, because he knew the law. Verse 3, and Naboth said unto Ahab, the Lord forbid me that I shall give thee the inheritance of my fathers unto thee, man. So he was like, no, I'm not giving you the inheritance of my fathers. This is an inheritance. This don't even belong to me. It belongs to the person that's coming after me. It belongs to the person coming after him. This belongs to my lineage and my seed line. And so Naboth understood this law. He had a vineyard. He understood the law of agriculture, business. Now he's doing business and conducting trade with the king, and kind of rejected the offer because he remembered Leviticus chapter 25 and verse 23. All right, so let's read on there, Leviticus 25 and 23. The land shall not be sold forever, for the land is mine, for you are strangers and sojourners with me. And in the land, and in all the land of your possession, you shall have a great redemption for the land. If thy brother be waxing poor, right? So if your brother be waxing poor and have sold away some of his possession, if any of his kin come to redeem it, then shall he redeem that which is his brother's sold, man. So if you sell something, your brother can come and redeem that for you. It's called the law of redemption. Let's say you sold away some of his possession. Let's say you sold your TV away, right, to a loan shark. And the loan shark wants $3,000 for your TV to get it back. Your brother can say, you know what, hold on, he didn't know. Let me buy it for him. And now you get your TV back, man. You walk away smiling because you don't have the money for it. So your brother or your sister is allowed to put up some money or to buy it on your behalf. Right? What they call that in the word, a cosigner. You want a car? Hey, look, you don't have enough credit history. You're gonna need a cosigner, or your credit's bad. You're gonna need a cosigner. Somebody can kind of mediate on your behalf and take some of the financial burden. That's what we already had cosigners back in Israel. Right? We had this back then. So that's what it's basically a cosign. Verse 26, and if the man have none to redeem it, and himself be able to redeem it. So let's say the man has no cosign. He has nothing, it's just him. But he actually gets the money to be able to redeem his stuff back. Then what? Then let him count the years of the sale thereof and restore the overplus unto the man to whom he sold it, that he may return unto his possession. So what does that mean? So if a brother doesn't have anybody to redeem it, and himself can do it, then you have to pay an overplus. What is an overplus? Right? The price of the fruit that man could have gotten leading up to the Jubilee. So let's say he sold his things and the year Jubilee was 10 years away. Right? He's going to get it back in 10 years anyway, but he had no person to buy it on his behalf. Right? And he said, you know what? I think I got the money to buy this thing back. Well, hold on. The year Jubilee is 5-6 years away. You got to pay me a little bit more for that. You got to give me an overplus. You have to pay me for what I would have gotten for the 6 years until the Jubilee. Because if you gave me some land 10 years for the Jubilee and you want it back a little bit early, well, hold on, brother. You got to pay me and only had it for 4 years. You got to pay me for the rest of those 6 years, what I would have gotten. So that's called the overplus, what that person would have gotten out of the thing that you wanted back, if that makes sense. All right. So that's called an overplus. And you see some jakes do that. They sell you something. They say, oh, man, damn, man, my bad, man. Can I get that back for a few more days? Well, hold on, brother. You got to pay me for what I could have gotten out of that for those few days, man. Because I was under the impression I would have it for the whole time. Right? So that's what that's talking about. Verse 29. I started verse 28. But if he be not able to restore it to him, then that which is sold shall remain in the hand that brought it. So if he can't buy it back, he has no co-signers, he don't got the money, then he got to wait to the year of Jubilee. Right? It says until the year of Jubilee, and the Jubilee it shall go out, he shall return unto his possession. Yeah, that man got to wait to the Jubilee to get his stuff back. Right? Yeah, he got to wait to Jubilee to get his stuff back, man. Right? If he can't redeem it. Verse 29. And if a man sell a dwelling house in a walled city, then he may redeem it within a whole year after the sold. So this goes into real estate, biblical real estate. So let's say you have a house in a walled city. All right, let's see what that looks like. All right, so let's say you had a house in a walled city like this. It's called an ancient apartment, right? You had a house within a walled city, right, such as this, right? So houses in walled cities and villages had different laws concerning to real estate. I'm gonna show you how, right? And it says, verse 29, if a man sell a dwelling house in a walled city, so let's say he sell one of these cribs right here. Then what? Then he may redeem it within a whole year after it is sold. Within a full year, he may redeem it. So within that year, you have a space of 12 months to redeem that house back. Let's say he sells it off. He said, no, I want my house back. You only have 1 year. You got a 1 year trial to get your house back because after that year is cooked. All right, verse 30. And it says, and if it be not redeemed within the space of a full year, then the house that is in the walled city shall be established forever to him that bought it. Throughout his generations, it shall not go out in the year of Jubilee. So if you have a house in a walled city, it's not considered part of the land. Right? As if you had a house just built on top of a land, that land belongs to the Most High. And we're going to explain that. But this house in the walled city is different. It's a city. So if you don't redeem in the space of a full year, that house, that goes to that other man forever. It is not going out in your Jubilee. Verse 31. But the houses of the villages which have no walls round about them shall be counted as the fields of the country. So it's going to be counted as the land. It's not in a walled city, it's a village. They may be redeemed, and they shall not go, and they shall go out into your Jubilee. So if you have a house in a village and you built that house, it's counted as part of the land. And remember, that land can't be sold off forever. It has to go out into your Jubilee. So if you live in a village, you can get into your Jubilee. If you live in a city, you have 1 year to redeem your crib that you sold, or it ain't going out. It's not going to go out into your Jubilee. All right. Verse 32, notwithstanding the cities of the Levites. So if you're a Levite, the law is a little bit more different. In the houses of the cities of their possession, may the Levites redeem at any time. So the Levites can redeem their cribs at any time. Remember, they don't have a portion of land, right? In Deuteronomy the 10th chapter, it tells you that they don't have a portion of land that they were allotted. So they live in the suburbs throughout amongst their brethren. So if they sell their house, they can redeem it at any time. Question number 33. And if a man purchase of the Levites, then the house that was sold in the city of his possession shall go out in the year of Jubilee. So if they had a house in the city, they can get their stuff back in the year of Jubilee. That don't apply to you because you from the tribe of Naphtali. If he's from the tribe of Levi, you have to give him his stuff back. You got to give him his possession back, especially if it's in the city. It doesn't matter if it's a year or not. And it says, for the houses of the cities are the Levites are their possession among the children of Israel. That's their inheritance. Like how that land was is your family's inheritance. That's why you can't sell it off forever. These suburbs, these cities, these lands, that's it's like not lands, but these cities, these houses that they have, that's their inheritance forever. That's what the Lord gave them. Verse 34, what does it say? But the field of the suburbs but the field of the suburbs of their cities may not be sold, for it is their perpetual possession, man. Right? It is their perpetual possession. Right? Stop right there a little bit on a time. Gotta willing, I want you talking, right? But the Lord willingly, he was on his live, he was edified, have a better understanding of biblical real estate, the year of release, right? The fallow year, right? And the land Sabbath, man. I like to give all praises to Yahweh. Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Lord, willingly you keep the Sabbath holy, right? Shalom. 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 Come on.